Imagine you're a sailor navigating the vast sea of life. Each person you meet, each connection you form is like a ship sailing alongside yours. Some journeys are brief, their purpose fulfilled in a fleeting moment. Others remain for longer, helping you chart your course. But what happens when a ship you long to sail with begins to drift away? Sometimes God, the universe, the divine order, or whatever name resonates with you offers not rejection but redirection. When things fall apart, it's not a punishment. It's a whisper, a nudge, a sign that this relationship is not in harmony with the deeper flow of your life. Imagine you're a sailor navigating the vast and mysterious sea of life, each wave and breeze shaping your journey. Along the way you encounter other ships, some sailing alongside you for mere moments, others for longer stretches. Each one brings lessons, experiences, and sometimes a sense of companionship that feels indispensable. But what happens when a ship you've grown attached to begins to drift away, no longer moving in sync with your own course? It's natural to feel a pang of resistance, a desire to hold on. Yet perhaps what feels like loss is, in truth, divine guidance steering you toward calmer waters and clearer skies. Life has a way of teaching us that not all connections are meant to endure. Sometimes God or the universe, or the deeper intelligence that shapes existence gives us signs, gentle or forceful, that a relationship is not aligned with our journey. These signs often come disguised as discomfort, obstacles, or a quiet but persistent feeling that something is amiss. It's easy to mistake these signs for personal failure or external unfairness. But what if, instead, they are whispers from the divine, nudging you toward a path that honors your truest self? Think about those moments when a relationship feels like a constant struggle, when communication breaks down, trust erodes, or peace becomes a distant memory. These aren't just coincidences or bad luck. They're mirrors reflecting the truth that something isn't in harmony. A relationship that repeatedly disrupts your inner peace is like a ship weighed down by too much cargo, struggling to stay afloat. It's a sign that something needs to change, and sometimes that change means letting go. But why is letting go so difficult? It's because we cling to what is familiar. The human heart, as tender as it is, often confuses attachment with love. We hold on, not because it serves us, but because it feels safe, because the thought of the unknown terrifies us. We build stories around the people we're with, projecting futures that may not align with reality. And so even when the signs become undeniable, when the storms grow louder and the seas rougher, we hesitate. We tell ourselves it's just a phase, that things will get better if we try harder, give more, or simply endure. But love, true love, doesn't ask us to endure pain or sacrifice our peace. True love liberates. It uplifts. It feels like the steady rhythm of the tide, not the chaos of a storm. When you find yourself in a relationship that feels like you're constantly fighting the current, it's not love, it's resistance. And resistance is often the universe's way of guiding you back to alignment. The beauty of life is that it always moves toward balance, even when it doesn't seem like it. When a relationship no longer serves your growth, the universe begins to orchestrate its exit. You might notice small signs at first: a sense of unease, repeated misunderstandings, or an undeniable feeling that you're drifting apart. Then come the bigger signs: conflicts that seem insurmountable, paths that diverge so clearly it's impossible to ignore. These are not punishments or failures, they're the natural course of life, clearing the way for something better suited to your journey. Letting go, though, is not an act of giving up. It's an act of trust in the flow of life, trust in the wisdom of divine timing, and trust in yourself. When you release a relationship that no longer aligns with your soul, you make space for something greater. You allow the winds of life to carry you toward new horizons, where love, connection, and peace await in forms you can't yet imagine. So if you find yourself questioning whether someone is meant to be in your life, pause. Listen not with your mind, which can be clouded by fear, but with your heart, which knows the truth. Notice the signs, the whispers of discomfort, and the moments of clarity amidst the chaos. These are your guides, pointing you toward a path of greater alignment and peace. Trust that you are not alone in this process. Just as the ocean always finds its rhythm, so too will you. What is truly meant for you will not drift away. It will align effortlessly, like a ship sailing beside yours in perfect harmony. And in trusting this process, you will discover the profound freedom and joy that come from letting go of what no longer serves you and embracing the infinite possibilities that lie ahead. Life often unfolds in unexpected ways, weaving together moments of joy, growth, and challenge. Among these experiences, relationships hold a unique place, shaping who we are and influencing the paths we take. At times, we find ourselves deeply attached to someone, believing that their presence in our life is essential, only to face moments of doubt, conflict, or misalignment. It's in these moments that life begins to speak to us in ways we may not immediately understand. Through signs, feelings, and circumstances, the universe or God, if you will, offers clarity, though it often requires courage to see and accept it. When you're with someone who isn't meant for you, the signs can start as whispers. There's a subtle tension in your interactions, a sense of unease that lingers after conversations. It might not be something you can name at first, but it feels as though a part of you is shrinking rather than expanding in their presence. Over time, these whispers grow louder, becoming undeniable. Perhaps it's the way you consistently compromise your values or dreams to accommodate theirs. Or maybe it's the arguments that start small but reveal deeper incompatibilities. These moments aren't random, they are the universe's way of redirecting you toward what is truly aligned with your soul. Yet we often resist these signs, clinging tightly to the idea of how things should be. We convince ourselves that love is about enduring, about pushing through, about holding on no matter what. But what if love, real love, isn't about resistance? What if it's about flow? Imagine a river, its waters moving naturally toward their destination. It doesn't fight against the rocks in its path, but flows around them, always seeking the path of least resistance. When you're in a relationship that feels like a constant battle against the current, it's not a sign of strength to stay. It's a sign that you're swimming against the natural rhythm of life. The truth is, not every person who enters our lives is meant to stay forever. Some connections are seasonal, meant to teach us lessons, show us parts of ourselves, or guide us toward growth. Holding on to someone who isn't meant for you can feel like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips through your fingers no matter how tightly you grasp. This isn't failure, it's nature. Some things aren't meant to be held, they're meant to flow, to come and go as part of life's greater design. It's important to recognize that letting go doesn't mean you didn't love or that your time together lacked meaning. Every relationship, no matter how brief or challenging, contributes to your journey. The pain of parting often carries within it the seeds of transformation. It teaches you about your strength, your needs, and the kind of love that truly nourishes you. One of the hardest truths to accept is that sometimes love isn't enough. You can love someone deeply and still not be right for each other. If the relationship constantly drains your energy, creates more pain than joy, or pulls you away from your purpose, it's a sign that it's time to release it. True love doesn't demand that you abandon yourself. Instead, it supports your growth, celebrates your authenticity, and aligns with your highest good. Letting go requires faith in the process, faith in the wisdom of life, and faith in yourself. It's not an easy path, but it's a liberating one. When you finally release what isn't meant for you, you create space for what is. You allow the universe to bring you connections that align with your soul, relationships that feel like home, rather than a battlefield. So, if you find yourself questioning a relationship, listen closely to the whispers of your heart. Notice the signs, the patterns, and the moments when your peace feels disrupted. Trust that these are not random but part of a greater design guiding you toward alignment. Life has a way of steering us, even through the storms, toward the calm and clarity we're meant to experience. And as difficult as it may feel, letting go is not the end. It's the beginning of something far greater, a life lived in harmony with your true self, surrounded by love that uplifts and inspires. There's a peculiar ache that comes with realizing a relationship might not be meant for you. It's not the sharp pain of betrayal or the sudden shock of loss, but a quieter, more persistent feeling. It's the tug of something unspoken, the awareness that despite the love you share, something fundamental feels misaligned. This realization often doesn't come all at once, but instead arrives in fragments through a conversation that leaves you unsettled, a recurring conflict that never quite resolves, or a quiet moment alone when you feel a growing gap between who you are and who you're becoming. The universe has a way of revealing truths to us, not through grand declarations, but through subtle signs. It might be in the way your joy seems diminished, or how the relationship feels more like a weight than a source of freedom. You may notice that the things you once overlooked now feel glaring, that what you thought you could compromise on has become too much to bear. These moments aren't random, they're messages, whispers from life nudging you to pay attention. And yet, how often do we ignore them? We hold on because we want to believe that love can conquer anything. We tell ourselves that if we just try harder, communicate better, or wait long enough, things will change. But love isn't about endless struggle. Love, at its core, is about harmony, a meeting of two souls that doesn't diminish either, but instead allows both to thrive. When a relationship requires you to consistently sacrifice your peace, your values, or your sense of self, it's a sign that you're trying to force something that isn't meant to be. There's a profound lesson in recognizing that not all love stories are meant to last forever. Some people come into our lives for a season, not a lifetime. Their role is to teach us, challenge us, and help us grow. But holding on to them past their purpose can feel like clinging to a withered flower, hoping it will bloom again. The beauty of the connection doesn't disappear, but its time has passed, and forcing it to remain only prolongs the pain. Letting go, however, is one of the hardest things we can do. It requires confronting our fears, fear of being alone, fear of the unknown, and fear that we're making a mistake. It asks us to trust in something greater than ourselves, to believe that releasing what isn't meant for us will make space for what is. This trust isn't easy, especially when we've invested so much in someone. The memories, the plans, the shared dreams, they all feel like reasons to stay. But staying for the sake of the past denies the possibility of a better future. When a relationship consistently feels like an uphill climb, it's worth asking whether the effort is leading to growth or simply prolonging exhaustion. There's a difference between working through challenges together and fighting a battle where one or both of you is losing yourself. Love isn't supposed to feel like a constant fight. It's meant to feel like a partnership, a place of mutual support and understanding. If it doesn't, the bravest thing you can do is step away. In letting go, there's a grace that emerges, a quiet strength in choosing peace over attachment. It's not about giving up on love, but about believing that love is abundant and that the right connections will come when you make room for them. Letting go is an act of faith, a declaration that you trust the flow of life to bring you what you need, even if it's not what you thought you wanted. And so when the signs are clear, when the relationship drains more than it fills, when your soul feels stifled rather than free, when the effort feels endless without reward, listen. Trust that what's falling apart is doing so to make way for something better. Trust that you are being guided, not abandoned. Life has a way of rearranging itself to align you with your highest good, but only if you allow it. Letting go is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of a new chapter. One filled with the kind of love and connection that feels like home. The human heart has an incredible capacity to hold on, even when it knows it shouldn't. There's a certain familiarity in staying, a comfort in clinging to what we know, even if it's causing us pain. This is especially true in relationships. When we've invested time, energy, and love into someone, the idea of letting go can feel unbearable, as though releasing them means discarding a part of ourselves. But what if the act of holding on is what's keeping us from the life we're meant to live? What if letting go isn't an end, but a sacred act of alignment with something greater? Life has a way of showing us when a relationship isn't meant to be. It doesn't always shout, more often it whispers. It begins with small moments, a conversation that feels forced, an argument that spirals out of control, a sense of unease that lingers long after the interaction has ended. These signs may be easy to dismiss at first. We tell ourselves that no relationship is perfect, that challenges are normal, and that with enough effort everything will work out. But as time goes on, these moments accumulate. They form a pattern, a persistent reminder that something fundamental isn't right. When you're with someone who isn't meant for you, it can feel like trying to walk against a strong wind. Every step forward requires immense effort, and even the smallest progress feels exhausting. You may find yourself compromising on things that matter deeply to you, your values, your dreams, your sense of self, just to keep the peace or maintain the connection. Over time, this constant compromise erodes your spirit, leaving you feeling smaller, less vibrant, and more disconnected from who you truly are. Yet, even in the face of these signs, we often resist letting go. We cling to the hope that things will change, that the person we're with will become what we need them to be, or that the love we share will be enough to bridge the gap. But love, no matter how deep, cannot make a relationship right if the foundation isn't solid. True love doesn't ask you to abandon yourself or endure constant struggle. It uplifts, supports, and aligns with your highest good. Letting go is an act of profound courage. It's a recognition that staying in a relationship out of fear or habit is not a reflection of love but of attachment. Love seeks freedom, while attachment clings. Love flows naturally, while attachment resists the natural currents of life. When you choose to release a relationship that no longer serves you, you are not giving up on love, you are choosing to honor yourself and trust in the greater wisdom of life. The process of letting go is rarely easy. It requires facing your fears, fear of being alone, fear of making a mistake, and fear of the unknown. It demands that you confront the stories you've told yourself about what this relationship means and what its end might signify. But within this difficulty lies transformation. By letting go, you create space for something new to emerge, space for relationships that align with your soul, for love that feels effortless and true, for growth that would have been impossible if you had continued to hold on. There is beauty in trusting the flow of life, in believing that what is meant for you will never pass you by. When you let go of what isn't aligned, you open yourself to the infinite possibilities that life has to offer. You allow yourself to step into a version of your life where love feels like a source of joy, not a source of pain, where relationships enhance your journey rather than hinder it. So when the signs are clear, when the weight of the relationship feels heavier than the joy it brings, when your peace feels constantly disrupted, when the effort feels one-sided and unending, listen. Trust that these signs are not accidents but messages, guiding you toward a life of greater alignment and purpose. Letting go is not the end, it's the beginning of a new chapter, one that holds the potential for the kind of love and connection you truly deserve. In releasing what no longer serves you, you are making room for the extraordinary, for the love that matches the fullness of who you are. Letting go of someone you care about is one of the hardest things you'll ever face. The heart, so deeply tied to its memories and desires, finds it almost unbearable to loosen its grip on something it once held sacred. But life, in its wisdom, often brings us to crossroads where we must choose between holding on to what feels familiar and stepping into the unknown. These moments of decision aren't random, they are divinely orchestrated opportunities to realign with our true path, even if the process feels like breaking apart. When a relationship isn't meant for you, the signs often start small, like gentle ripples across the surface of still water. There might be moments when conversations feel strained or when your energy feels depleted after being together. Perhaps you start noticing how often you compromise, not just on small things, but on parts of yourself that matter deeply. Over time, these ripples grow into waves, making it harder to ignore what your intuition has been quietly telling you all along: something is off. These signs aren't punishments or failures. They are gifts, guides sent to help you recognize that the connection, while meaningful in its time, is no longer aligned with your soul's growth. But we resist these truths, don't we? We tell ourselves that love means staying, that loyalty means enduring, and that relationships are supposed to be hard. There's a societal narrative that equates love with sacrifice, with giving up parts of yourself to make something work. And while compromise is essential in any partnership, there's a difference between healthy give and take and losing yourself entirely. If a relationship requires you to shrink, to silence your voice, or to abandon your dreams just to keep the peace, then it's not love, it's attachment. But attachment is seductive because it disguises itself as love. It says, if you let go, you'll regret it. You'll be alone. You'll lose everything. It convinces you that staying, even when it hurts, is safer than facing the uncertainty of what lies beyond. But here's the truth: attachment is rooted in fear, not freedom. Love, real love, doesn't chain you to someone else's needs or expectations. It doesn't demand that you forsake your happiness or your purpose. Love sets you free. It flows like a river, carrying you toward your highest good without resistance or force. Letting go isn't a failure, it's an act of courage. It's acknowledging that the relationship, as beautiful as it may have been, has served its purpose. Sometimes people come into our lives to teach us lessons, to show us parts of ourselves we needed to see, or to help us grow in ways we couldn't have managed alone. But not every connection is meant to last forever, and holding on when the season has passed only leads to unnecessary pain. In the act of letting go, there's an incredible opportunity for transformation. It's a chance to rediscover yourself, to reconnect with the dreams and desires you may have set aside. It's also an invitation to trust life, to believe that what is truly meant for you will never require you to betray yourself to keep it. Letting go creates space for new beginnings, for relationships that align with your values, your joy, and your peace. Of course, letting go isn't easy. It means grieving what was and releasing what could have been. It means sitting with the discomfort of the unknown, trusting that the emptiness you feel now will eventually be filled with something more beautiful than you can imagine. But this is the paradox of life. The very act of releasing is what allows us to receive. By letting go of what no longer serves us, we make room for what will. So when the signs are clear, when the relationship feels heavy rather than uplifting, when your peace is consistently disrupted, when the compromises ask too much of your soul, listen. Trust those signs and trust yourself. Trust the process. Letting go doesn't mean the love wasn't real or the relationship wasn't meaningful. It simply means its purpose has been fulfilled, and now it's time to move forward. In the end, what is truly yours will never leave you. Love that aligns with your soul will flow effortlessly into your life, and when it does, you'll understand why this chapter had to close. Letting go is not an ending, it's the doorway to something greater, something truer, and something that will honor every part of who you are. Life, in its boundless dance, presents us with all kinds of people, some who uplift and others who seem to drain the very essence of our being. The mistake we often make is believing that we must fix, resist, or control these so-called toxic individuals. But consider this: the river does not argue with the rock, it simply flows around it. The more we struggle against negativity, the more entangled we become. True mastery lies not in resistance, but in understanding. Understanding that toxic people are merely actors in the grand theater of existence, bound by their own suffering. And so, rather than react, we learn to respond. With wisdom, toxic people only have power over you when you believe you must control them or their perception of you. This is the great illusion, the belief that we are responsible for how others think, feel, or behave. We spend so much energy trying to mold the world to our liking, ensuring that people act in ways we deem acceptable, hoping that they will change, soften, or wake up to their own toxicity. But the truth is, the more we try to control, the more we become entangled in their chaos. Like quicksand, the harder you struggle, the deeper you sink. Imagine standing before a great storm, shouting at the winds to calm down. Will the storm obey? Of course not. Yet this is exactly what we do when we try to change toxic people. We beg them to be kinder, we reason with them, we fight them, we exhaust ourselves, hoping they will transform into something more palatable. But in doing so, we surrender our own peace, making their dysfunction our own. A storm does not change because we dislike it. The wise man does not stand in the hurricane. He finds shelter. He adapts. He lets the storm pass without letting it sweep him away. And yet there is a deeper truth. What we call toxic people are often those who reflect something within us that we do not wish to see. Perhaps they awaken old wounds, bring out hidden insecurities, or remind us of our own fears. This is why their words sting, their presence unsettles, their actions disturb. The person who truly knows himself cannot be controlled by the moods of others. If you see someone trying to manipulate you, it only works if you believe you must play along. If someone insults you, it only wounds you if there is a part of you that fears they may be right. This is the real power of toxic people, not their actions, but our reactions. The moment you release the illusion of control, their power crumbles. You do not have to convince them, change them, or win them over. You simply have to stop engaging in the game they want to play. If they seek to provoke, give them nothing to push against. If they want to fight, let them battle their own shadows. If they seek to control, recognize that true freedom lies in not playing the role they have assigned to you. But this does not mean passive suffering. To let go of control does not mean allowing others to walk all over you. Rather, it means choosing where to place your energy. You do not fight the storm, but you also do not stand in its path. When you stop feeding toxic energy, it has nowhere to go. The river flows around the rock, not because it is weak, but because it understands that fighting the rock is a waste of its nature. Strength is not found in resistance. It is found in movement, in fluidity, in the quiet power of choosing where to place your attention. Think of the moon. It does not argue with the tides, nor does it attempt to stop the waves. It simply shines, unmoved, untouched by the chaos below. This is how one deals with toxic people. You recognize them for what they are. Storms that will pass, waves that will crash, actors lost in their own suffering. And in this recognition you find freedom. Their words lose weight, their actions lose meaning, and you, untangled from their control, remain at peace, like the moon watching the tides, undisturbed by the rising and falling of the ocean. Like the river flows around the rock, learn to detach from toxic energy. There is no need to push, no need to resist, no need to become entangled in the currents of negativity. Resistance gives power to the very thing you wish to avoid. When you react with anger, frustration, or distress, you become a part of the energy you seek to escape. But when you step back, when you allow the storm to rage without stepping into it, you remain untouched. Detachment does not mean apathy. It does not mean that you do not care, nor does it mean that you tolerate harm. It simply means that you no longer allow another person's turmoil to dictate your inner state. When someone insults you, what happens? If you react, if you become defensive, if you feel the need to prove them wrong, you have already lost your peace. But if you see their words as nothing more than the wind passing through the trees, you remain unaffected. You hear the sound, but you do not suffer. Toxic people seek to pull you into their storm. They thrive on reaction, on engagement, on emotional investment. The moment you detach, their power diminishes. Imagine a person trying to argue with their own echo. If you stop responding, they are left with nothing but the sound of their own voice. This is why detachment is so powerful. It is not a sign of weakness, it is the ultimate strength. The ability to observe without being consumed, to acknowledge without being affected. But to truly detach, you must first understand why you are attached. Why do their words trigger you? Why do their actions stir something deep within? Most people spend their lives reacting, unaware that their reactions are not caused by others, but by their own unresolved wounds. If someone calls you unworthy and it pains you, it is not their words that hurt, it is your own doubt that wounds you. The external world is merely a mirror, reflecting back the places within us that need healing. This is why detachment is not just a way of dealing with toxic people, it is a path to self-awareness. The more you understand yourself, the less others can shake you. Detachment is not about ignoring reality, it is about choosing how you engage with it. If someone throws a stone at you, you have a choice. You can pick it up and throw it back, escalating the cycle of conflict. You can hold on to it, carrying the weight of resentment and pain, or you can simply let it fall, recognizing that the stone was never yours to carry. Most people spend their lives collecting stones, holding on to every harsh word, every unkind act, every wound from the past. But the wise understand that freedom comes from letting go. No one can burden you with their toxicity unless you agree to carry it. When you detach, you free yourself, not just from others, but from the need to control, to fix, to make sense of the chaos around you. There is an old Zen saying, "Let go or be dragged." Life moves, people act, the world spins on, indifferent to our attempts to control it. The more we try to grasp, the more we suffer. But when we release our grip, when we allow things to be as they are without resistance, we find peace. And in that peace, toxic people lose their hold on us. They may continue their patterns, their words may still be sharp, their actions may still be difficult, but they no longer have the power to pull us into their storm. We simply watch, like the river flowing around the rock, moving forward, untouched, free. Instead of reacting with frustration, transmute negativity into wisdom. Every encounter, every difficult person, every painful interaction is a mirror reflecting something within us that is waiting to be understood. Most people react blindly, consumed by the energy thrown at them, unaware that they have a choice. They absorb anger and return anger. They receive insult and give insult in return. But what if, instead of reacting, we transform? What if, instead of seeing toxic people as burdens, we saw them as teachers? Alchemy is the ancient art of turning lead into gold, the transformation of something base into something precious. But real alchemy is not about metals, it is about the mind. It is the ability to take even the most negative experience and extract wisdom from it. If someone lies to you, they have given you a lesson in truth. If someone betrays you, they have taught you about trust. If someone insults you, they have revealed your attachment to external validation. There is no suffering that does not carry within it a hidden lesson, no encounter that does not reveal something deeper about yourself, but only if you are willing to see. Most people remain stuck in reaction. They take every offense personally, every difficult person as an enemy, every negative experience as an attack. But what they fail to realize is that the world is not happening to them, it is happening through them. The way we experience life is determined not by external events, but by our own perceptions. If you believe that toxic people exist to harm you, then you will suffer. But if you believe they exist as opportunities for growth, then even the most painful encounters become stepping stones to greater wisdom. When you shift your perception, you shift your power. Instead of allowing someone's negativity to drag you down, you use it to rise. Imagine a person shouting at you, insulting you, trying to provoke a reaction. The old way, the reactive way, is to meet their energy with the same intensity, to fight, to argue, to defend. But there is another way. You can pause, you can breathe, you can ask yourself, what is this moment teaching me? Perhaps it is teaching you patience. Perhaps it is revealing your own need for approval. Perhaps it is showing you the futility of arguing with those who refuse to listen. Whatever the lesson, it is there, waiting to be seen. This is the practice of emotional alchemy, the ability to take negativity and use it as fuel for growth. Just as fire can destroy or purify, toxic energy can consume you or refine you. The choice is always yours. Will you allow someone else's anger to dictate your mood? Will you let their bitterness make you bitter? Or will you see beyond the surface, beyond the noise, and recognize that their behavior is nothing more than a reflection of their own suffering? There is great freedom in realizing that nothing anyone does is truly about you. The toxic person is simply acting out their own internal conflict. They are lost in their own suffering, trapped in patterns they may not even understand. When you see this clearly, you no longer take their actions personally. You no longer feel the need to react, to engage, to fight. Instead, you observe, you learn, you grow. In this way, even the most difficult people become part of your path, not as obstacles, but as guides. They show you where you are still vulnerable. They show you where you are still attached. They show you where you have room to evolve. And as you refine yourself, as you master the art of transmuting negativity into wisdom, you become untouchable, not because toxic people disappear, but because they no longer have the power to affect you. You rise above, like the phoenix from the ashes, stronger, wiser, free. True strength lies not in walls, but in the ability to navigate relationships with clarity. Many believe that protecting themselves from toxic people means shutting down, cutting people off, or building emotional barriers so thick that nothing can penetrate them. But walls do not make you strong, they make you isolated. Strength is not in avoidance, but in the ability to move through the world without being swayed by its chaos. A tree does not build walls to protect itself from the wind. It bends, it sways, it adapts, and in that movement it survives the storm. Boundaries are not about pushing people away, they are about knowing where you stand. They are about recognizing what energy you allow into your space and what energy you refuse to entertain. A river does not flow in all directions at once. It carves its own path, and so must you. When dealing with toxic people, the key is not aggression, not anger, not the need to prove anything, but a quiet, firm understanding of what you will and will not allow. You do not have to explain your boundaries. You do not have to seek approval. You simply live by them, like the sun rising and setting without asking permission. Many people struggle with setting boundaries because they believe that doing so is selfish, that it is unkind, that they must accommodate everyone. But the truth is, a lack of boundaries does not make you kind, it makes you exhausted. And exhaustion breeds resentment. When you give too much of yourself to those who drain you, you do not become more loving. You become more bitter. True compassion is not sacrificing yourself for others, but ensuring that you are whole enough to offer your presence without depletion. Toxic people often test boundaries, pushing, manipulating, finding ways to break through. But this only works if you are unclear about your limits. If you say no, say it without hesitation. If you choose not to engage, do so with certainty. You do not have to justify, you do not have to argue, you do not have to explain. The moment you begin to defend your boundary, you open the door for negotiation. But boundaries are not negotiations, they are declarations. A bird does not justify why it flies south for the winter, it simply knows where it needs to be. But there is a difference between boundaries and walls. Walls block everything out, including love, kindness, and meaningful connection. Boundaries, on the other hand, allow you to engage with the world on your own terms. They allow you to stand in the presence of negativity without absorbing it, to listen without being consumed, to interact without losing yourself. There is a quiet confidence in those who have mastered boundaries. They do not shout, they do not argue, they do not seek validation. They simply know who they are and what they will allow, and this knowing creates a force field stronger than any wall. Toxic people do not linger where there is no fuel. They thrive on reaction, on conflict, on the ability to push and provoke. But when they meet someone who will not engage, someone who remains unmoved, they fade like a flame deprived of air. Strength is not rigidity, it is fluidity. It is knowing when to walk away and when to stand firm. It is understanding that saying no is not an act of cruelty, but an act of self-respect. It is moving through the world with a quiet power, rooted in clarity, untangled from the chaos of others. And in that clarity, in that unwavering stance, you find true freedom, the ability to navigate any storm without losing yourself in the wind. Toxic people are often prisoners of their own suffering. The moment you truly see this, their words and actions lose their sting. It is easy to view them as villains, as obstacles, as sources of unnecessary pain in your life. But consider for a moment, what kind of mind must they live with every single day? The person who lashes out, who manipulates, who deceives, do you think they are at peace? Do you think they wake up in the morning feeling light, feeling joyful? Or are they carrying a burden so heavy that the only way they know how to survive is by projecting their pain onto others? Most people react to toxic behavior with anger, with frustration, with resistance. They take offense, they fight back, they seek revenge. But to react in this way is to fall into the same trap, to be pulled into the same suffering. The moment you understand that toxic behavior is merely a symptom of internal pain, you shift from reaction to awareness. You stop taking things personally because you realize it was never about you, it was always about them. Their anger is not your anger. Their bitterness is not your burden to carry. Their suffering is not yours to fix. Imagine someone drowning in the ocean, panicking, thrashing, desperately trying to stay afloat. In their desperation, they may grab onto anything, pulling others down with them. This is what toxic people do. Not because they are evil, not because they wish to cause harm, but because they know no other way to exist. They create chaos because their inner world is chaos. They hurt others because they do not know how to heal themselves, and so they act unconsciously, repeating the same patterns, trapped in the same suffering. Does this mean you must tolerate their behavior? No. Does this mean you should excuse their actions? No. But it does mean you can release yourself from the emotional weight of their toxicity. When you stop seeing them as enemies and start seeing them as lost, wounded beings, they lose their power over you. Their words become empty. Their manipulations become predictable. Their attempts to control no longer affect you because you see them for what they are, expressions of their own unresolved pain. This understanding gives you freedom. You no longer react because there is nothing to react to. When someone trapped in anger tries to provoke you, you see it as nothing more than a child throwing a tantrum. When someone filled with insecurity tries to belittle you, you recognize it as their own fear speaking, not truth. Their energy, their attempts to pull you in, simply pass through you like wind through an open window. But more than that, when you see their suffering, you may even begin to feel compassion. Not in a way that requires you to engage, not in a way that makes you a martyr, but in a way that allows you to step back without resentment. You do not need to hate them. You do not need to carry anger toward them. You simply let them be as they are, knowing that they are walking their own path, however painful it may be. And you, free, untangled, at peace, continue walking yours.